Yes, I am muted. Thank you for saying that. Okay, good thing I just started. So again, my name is Crista Hermance. I'm an estate planning attorney. Um, I think you should be able to hear me now. Yes, you can hear me. Is that better? Can you hear me now? If it's not one thing, it's another with technology, I swear. Yes, you can hear me? Yes. Okay, perfect. Well, everybody stayed on that's been watching, and more people are listening now. So, yes, it's going to be very compelling stuff today. So, my name is Crista Hermance. I'm an estate planning attorney. You might know me as estate planning mom. I am licensed to practice in California. And today we are doing estate planning questions and answers. And it is going to be, I'm going to start with common estate planning mistakes to avoid. And these are stories and real life scenarios of things that have happened in cases over the years that I've been involved with that I think really help bridge the gap between things that people maybe have misconceptions about and things that people are and just they don't really know, right? And so I'm going to share some stories with you, and these are again common, very common. I see them all the time. um, but if you have any estate planning questions and you want an answer to it, wills, trust, probate court, trust administration, please put your question in the comment and I will try to get to it. Okay, so some common estate planning mistakes. So one of my I think so many people can relate to this one. I had a client who his dad was he was older, probably in his 70s, and his dad owned one property and had quite a bit of money in investment accounts, like in the millions, right? Um, and he kept telling his dad, you need to get your estate plan done. You need to get a trust. You need to get it done for years and years and years. And he kept asking him, please get this done because it's going to come back on me to have to deal with it. And so dad tells son one day, okay, I got my estate plan done. I got a trust. You don't have to worry. Right. So son was relieved at this point because dad got his trust done. So dad passes away years later. And the son comes to me and says, my dad passed away, but he has a trust. So we shouldn't have to go through probate court. We should be able to avoid probate court. And I believe that at this point, um, the estate was probably worth almost $3 million. So the home and then some investment accounts that he had. Um, I get the trust to start administering the trust. And as I'm reviewing it, I get to the last page. And on the last page, I see that he never signed the trust, right? No signature, no notary, nothing. And so I contact the son. I said, do you know if there's another copy or an original somewhere? Because this isn't signed. And he's in complete shock at this point. And so what we come to find out is dad had done a DIY plan online and had it printed out, but he never actually signed the estate planning documents. And he never funded his trust by putting his house in the name of the trust. And none of his investment accounts were accurate as to him actually having this estate plan in place. And so this is where doing DIY plans online, I think can give a lot of false sense of security because here dad thought he was good, right? He thought he had done what he needed to do. However, one of the biggest things is making sure that it's signed properly. And this ended up costing the estate, I think they spent about $50,000 in probate fees and cost is what it ended up coming out to be. And if dad had done his plan for probably $4,000 to $5,000, right, it would have saved all of that money that was coming out of the estate as a result of him not doing it properly, right? So this was a really big lesson on making sure that your planning is done the right way. Okay. You In an effort to avoid making mistakes when it comes to estate planning, if you send me a message with the word fix in the comments or in chat or direct message to me, we will send you a checklist on things to think about, right? And to make sure that you have a comprehensive estate plan in place. Okay. Okay. I see some questions that have come in, so let's start going through some of those questions. I do have some other common estate planning mistakes to avoid. I do have another one I want to share, but I want to get to this question first. Okay, so a question from Blue Ink Notary California LLC. Yes. So I'm the executor to my father and stepmother's trust. Is there somewhere I can educate myself in the executor duties before one or both passes away? Honestly, if they would let you, maybe reading the terms of the trust. So every trust is going to have different duties as to what the executor is responsible for doing. And so just understanding the things that you need to do is going to be listed in the trust, right? The trust is kind of like the guide on the things that you should be doing. Another really great thing that you can do is having conversations with them to understand where they keep documents, where they keep passwords. Do you know all of the bank accounts that they have, investment accounts, life insurance policies? Are they keeping that stuff together to make things easier? Because that's one of the things that I see when somebody passes away, they're generally not prepared. Documents are all over the place. And sometimes it's not even things that they would be able to find themselves. They'd have to go and request them from companies. And so this is one way that families are, if you don't have access to it and you don't have copies of it somewhere, how is your family going to know about it? Right? How are they going to know about these assets? And they're going to have to search for them. And so it's important to have them get as organized as possible to make sure that you know where everything is. Another important one for Blue Ink Notary California is to make sure that they know that their trust is properly funded. So this is one of the big issues that I see right now is um, people will have an estate plan done. They'll have that trust. That's part of that comprehensive estate plan, but they're not funding it with the assets, which means that they're not transferring title to the name of the trust. They're not making the trust a beneficiary, or they're not putting accounts in the name of the trust, right? And then what's happening is when somebody passes away or gets sick, then we have to go to court and ask the court to put those assets into the trust, which ends up costing, it costs about $10,000 to do. And so making sure that the trust is properly funded, just make sure that it keeps costs down, and it just makes things easier. Okay, great question. I hope that helped. Okay, I see some more questions coming in. So let's go to the next question. So we are in our 30s, no children. What's a good way to start our estate plan? Okay, so this is my favorite because it's this when you create an estate plan, this is your estate plan for life, right? And even though you're doing it now, as your family grows, as your friends and your agents and assets continue to change and grow, your estate plan is going to change with you. So it really depends on if you own a home. I'd say if there's no children, at least yet. If you don't own a home, then maybe a trust isn't necessarily what you need right now. But it really depends on the other assets that you have outside of your home. So I'm going to say for purposes of for this fact, since I don't know, let's say you own a home. Well, how is title held to your home? Does it have both of you on it? Does the property go to the other if something were to happen to one? This is where, if you own a home, I would recommend having a trust. Okay. And by working with an estate planning attorney, we can go through with you to understand, well, what are your goals right now, as well as maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, right? So that we know, okay, are you planning on having kids? Are you not? Who are your beneficiaries going to be if something were to happen to you? Because if you don't put any of these plans in place and something were to happen to you and your spouse, then it may not be distributed the way that you would want, right? Maybe you're not close with one side of your family, and assets would go to that side of the family, and you wouldn't necessarily want that, but that's the way it would be without any legal plans in place. And so owning a home in your 30s, I would recommend a trust, a will, right? It's a specific type of will that works with a trust. We call it a pour over will, a power of attorney document, an advanced healthcare directive, HIPAA authorization, and then supporting documents to go through that trust, right? That's going to get you started. And then again, as you continue to get more assets throughout your life, you're going to just put them in the name of your trust or point them to your trust. And if you have children, adding your children to your trust. It's just things that are just going to continue to develop throughout the course of your life. That's why we call it a revocable living trust, right? It's through your life that you're going to have this document in place, as well as your comprehensive plan. So if you're just joining me, we are going through estate planning questions and answers. So if you have an estate planning questions, please feel free to put that in in the chat, and I will try to get to it. I do see some other questions in here. And if you want to know what makes up a comprehensive estate plan, put fix in the comments or send me a message with it, and we will send you a link to be able to get that free printable. And as always, if you are located in California and you need help with your planning, please schedule a free consultation. This is over the phone, no obligation. It's just trying to figure out what are the things that might be something that I need given that situation. Okay, next question. What if you own a third of your house along with my dad and stepmother? They have their portion in their trust. Should I put my third in the trust? All of us are on title. So this is tricky. I think it's really the intent. What's the intention of the house? Is this a house that is essentially going to be yours? Because I'd be really curious to know how title is held. I know you say all three of you are on title, but there are lots of different ways to hold title. And this is what I do, complete webinars on just title alone, because it is so confusing. And so is it just names, right? If it's just names, or if it's their trust in your name, and I'm going to assume it's that for this purpose of talking through this, is it's got their portion is in their trust. I'm assuming that they own 2/3 if you own 1/3 of the house, right? So if they own 2/3 and you own a third, if something happens to them, it should have language in their trust, either specifically what happens to that house, or it's going to be included in what we would call the residuary, which is all of the assets and how is that distributed, right? And then that 2/3 is going to go specific to the terms of the trust. If something were to happen to both of them, if something were to happen to you, because it is not in your trust, your third portion would actually have to go through probate. And so this is why it's important to make sure that if you own a percentage of that house, like this third, is by putting that third into your trust, then it would avoid having to go through probate. Okay. I think also really understanding though what would happen as a result of, if something were to happen to both parents, what happens to that 2/3 portion of the house, right? Is it going to be given directly to you so that you get the house as a whole now, or is it going to be split equally with some siblings? So it's important to make sure the language is drafted for that, because I've seen it where sometimes people who think the house is all theirs is now being split amongst siblings. Okay. Okay. If you have any estate planning questions, please feel free to put those in the comments. Again, I'm doing a live Q&A here on estate planning. So wills, trust, probate, trust administration. If you're not really sure where to start and you want to see what a comprehensive estate plan looks like, please type fix in the chat and or send me a message, and we will get that sent to you, a free printable checklist on what comes in a comprehensive estate plan. Okay. Great. I hope that answered your question about the percentages. Percentages when it comes to property can be really challenging. Okay. Okay. Next question I saw that came in. I don't have anybody to name as an executor. What are my options? Okay, so there are what we call professional fiduciaries. Professional fiduciaries are someone that is they are licensed and bonded to be able to essentially manage the terms of your trust. So they gather all your assets, they follow the terms, they distribute the money as needed, they pay bills, and it's somebody that's actually getting paid like an hourly rate to be able to manage the terms of the trust. We have clients that we work with that use professional fiduciaries for various reasons. Sometimes it's they don't have anybody in their family that they trust. Sometimes they literally have no one that they can have do this. Sometimes it's because maybe the people in their family are not U.S. citizens, in which case it needs to be a U.S. citizen to be able to be the executor of the trust. Um, or sometimes maybe it's just, I have three adult kids and I don't want them fighting. I want somebody that's going to be fair and unbiased towards any of them. And I want my kids to continue getting along, right? So I'm going to get a professional fiduciary in there. I've also seen people put banks as a professional fiduciary. I've seen things go wrong with this where people will just put a bank and then the bank says we're not going to do this administration because there aren't enough assets in the estate. And in which case now we have to go through and figure out, okay, how do we figure out who's next on the list? And it's another bank. I speak this from actually happening in one of our cases. And so until we could find somebody down the list that would actually be able to take the administration. Okay. Okay, question that came in. How can we get in touch with you to work on our estate plans? So you can go to, you can look at our bio to be able to click free consultation there. If you just put consult in the chat, we will send you a message with a link to schedule a free consultation. And again, it's if you are in the state of California, we can help you. If you are not in California, please send me a message because we work with attorneys all over the country. And so that is one of my biggest things is making sure that you find somebody that you connect with, right? This is somebody that's going to probably the company is going to be involved in for years to come, and deal with your family members, and that's one of the things that I think that we really enjoy is working with our clients where we have one client that has come to us and then they had a great experience, and so now they're bringing their parents or their siblings, and we're helping the whole family get all their legal plans in place. Okay. Okay. I think I have time for one more question here. Let's see. Okay. Is it possible to do multi-generational planning, worried about a new inheritance laws? So we can really only plan for what we know right now, at least with what's in place. I will say also, a lot of times is if new laws come into play, then it's just at that point you have to make changes, right? You have to make changes to your plan to be able to care for it. The best thing that you can do is just have something in place right now to be able to say, okay, well, these are the laws, and according to who they are, here's the people that I want to be protected, because you never know what's going to happen, right? There could be a car accident tomorrow, right? And so you want to make sure that you have those plans in place to be able to work right now, not that you're planning for 20 to 30 years down the line, right? When I work with clients, it's let's talk about what your goals are within the next 5 to 10 years, right? And then at that point, you can always update your plan. You can always make changes. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you found value in this live Q&A. If you are watching this in the replay, please put any questions that you have in the comments, and I will try and get those answered in the next live that I do, which is going to be tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time again. And so if you do need your estate plan done and you're in California, please send us a message and just ask for a free consult, and we'll send you the link to get that scheduled. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.